Hello, thank you for checking out A1 Math, and today we're looking at modeling linear relationships. This is one more example to the lesson I've already had on that. This one's broken down even further to make sure it's completely clear and understandable. Let's take a look at this example. Well, the Math Club at Spencer Middle School is selling calculators as a fundraiser. The scientific calculator sells for $35 and the graphing calculator sells for $80. The club hopes to raise $1,120. It wants to write a linear equation that describes the problem and then graph the linear equation. Then use the graph to approximate the number of graphing calculators that will be needed if you sold 16 scientific calculators. So we're going to break this down. First, we're going to analyze the information we have here and see how it says, how much does a scientific calculator sell for? Well, the scientific calculator sell for $35. And then it asks, how much does the graphing calculator sell for? They sell for 80. And how much do we want to raise? Well, the club hopes to raise $1,120. All right, so that's some of the information we need. All right, let's go to the next step. Okay, now we want to make a plan, and it adds the amount earned from the scientific calculators. You don't know how many calculators you're going to sell, so it's an unknown amount. So when you have something that's unknown, it's a variable. So you're going to need a variable. So we're going to put S for scientific calculators here. And we know each calculator sells for $35. So it's 35S, 35 times the number of calculators sold. The amount of the graphing calculators is going to be 80 times the unknown amount of graphing calculators sold. So if we add the $35 plus the $80, or the $35 times the number of scientific calculators, and the $80 times the amount of graphing calculators, we want it to add up to equal 1,100, double check that number, and $20. So we're going to take the $35 times the scientific calculators and then the $80 times the graphing calculators, add it together, and we want it to equal 1,120. So that's our linear equation right there. We're going to use that. All right, now it wants to calculate three values. I'm only going to do two because you really only need 2 points in order to make a graph. So we're going to go ahead and just do those two. And the easiest ones to do would be 0. So we're going to do a 0. What if you had 0 scientific calculators? So how many graphing would you need? And if you had 0 graphing, how many scientific calculators would you need? So I'm going to go back and write my formula, which is 35S plus 80G is equal to 1,120. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the 0 for each one. So if I have 0 scientific calculators, what would I get? And if I have 0 graphing calculators, what would I get? So the zeros are going to cancel out each term here and leave the other one. So really what I'm going to end up with is 35S is equal to 1,120. I'm going to have 80G is equal to 1,120. We're just going to solve both of those. All right, so with the scientific calculators, you're going to end up with 32. when you have zero graphing. So, and with the graphing calculators and zero scientific, you're going to have 14. And it makes sense. You're going to need to sell more scientific calculators than graphic calculators to get the 1,120. Okay, now we're going to use these 2 points, 0, 14 and 32, 0 to graph. So that was 0, 14 and 32, 0. So what you want to do is go ahead and just plot these points. So at 0, 14, that's going to go up on the y-axis. All right, so that's going to be about right here. And 32 is going to be right in here. And we're just going to draw a line like so. And that's our graph. And if we look at the last slide here, you see how you got 32 for scientific and 14 for graphing? And you come back to the axis, 14 for graphing, 32 for scientific. Okay, now the last thing we got to do is figure out what it's going to be if you have 16 scientific calculators. So it says estimated on the graph, but if you look at the graph, that you see you got 0, then 10, about 16. Somewhere in here is where it's going to be, somewhere in that way. But it's hard to tell specifically. So the best thing to do is to rewrite our equation and just plug it in. Okay, and now I'm just going to plug in those 16 for the scientific calculator, so it's going to replace the S. Okay, and 35 times 16 is going to give me 560. All right, subtract 560 on both sides. I got 80G is equal to 560 divided by 80. And I would need 7 graphing calculators in order to meet the goal of 1,120. So that is modeling linear relationships. Thank you for checking out A1 Math and have a nice day.